Hi, I'm Ethan, and today we're going to be learning about life's prehistoric moments. This is my very own time chart, showing all the periods on the sides. The text looks like it's going sideways and not horizontally, and the letters on top, they are eras representing, the periods in them. And the red lines and, the transparent red line in the area called now is a mass extinction. Let's start with the Precambrian, around 3.6 billion years ago, around the beginning of the Paleoarchean. In a world of fire and water, we find life. Even in the hottest, well, not the hottest, of Earth's times. With Luca, aka the last universal common ancestor. After that absolutely beautiful moment, they started multiplying. Like rapid multiplying. Since they had no predators and could feed themselves off by hydrothermal vents, which are basically very hot mini volcanoes of water that act like geysers, creating much heat and some nutrients for Luca. They just did their thing and went crazy. Some even got little mutations, which those mutations can get mutations, which in turn will create new species. That's evolution. 100 to 200 million years later, we encounter bacteria and archaea? Archaea are basically kind of like bacteria, but just a little different. And they live in very extreme environments, such as, levels of pH 0, which are extremely acidic, and high temperatures such as 122 Celsius, which is hotter than boiling water. And extremely salty conditions such as the Dead Sea, a sea that is literally called the Dead Sea. Well, it's not actually a sea, it's a lake, but no fish or tardigrade can survive that. Still can't survive space, though. Both archaea and bacteria belong to a group of prokaryotes, meaning that they are extremely simple cells, with maybe some strands of DNA, ribosomes, and of course the cell wall. Ribosomes make protein, which is essential to survive for the cell. And there were also many other microbial, groups just swimming around. Oh yeah, this was all in the ocean. Fast forward a few 100 million years, and you can find microorganisms like cyanobacteria, which were using photosynthesis, as in taking in sunlight, and making oxygen, causing this oxygenless, well, not totally oxygenless, but very poor oxygenated Earth to become soon to be very oxygenated. That won't happen in another 900 million years. Not much really happens between 3.3 and 2.8 billion years ago, so we'll skip to that time period. And so, welcome to the Neo-Archean, where we can find sulfur-using microorganisms, basically organisms that use sulfur as food. I don't know how those microorganisms do it, but it kind of involves something with those hydrothermal vents. Fast forward to 2.4 billion years ago, and things are getting interesting. Welcome to eukaryotes, aka the living organism cells that make up all animals, plants, and fungi, and many more. Also, it is time for the Great Oxidation Event, where we receive a bunch of oxygen. Going back about 2.1 billion years ago, we can find the beginning of algae. Also, I resized this stuff since, it was getting crowded. And also, we welcome the first amoeba. Now, skipping over a long distance to 1.6 billion years ago, we can find long strings of organisms known as filamentous organisms. Basically, they're just long strings of cells that go on for I don't know, a few hundred micrometers at best. And we find green algae. And all of these organisms are still alive today. This area also includes protists, which hunted eukaryote cells. Now let's jump to 1.4 billion years ago, where we can find the first evidence of fungi. Moving on forward to 1 billion years ago, we can find stuff like seaweed, which existed straight around this time period. Don't worry, we're getting very close to real plants and animals. Yes, seaweed is not a plant, and algae is not a plant. Once we reach 900 million years ago, we can finally see the first animal to ever appear on the Earth. And it's a sponge. Going even more forward to 800 million years ago, and we can find more stuff. Like the choanophagoate, which is another microscopic creature that loves to eat bacteria. We also see the beginning of anemones. Now let's go even more forward to 600 million years ago. This is where we will see jellyfish, some of the first animals besides sponges. And also introducing plasmodial slime molds. Crazy name, right? And now finally, we are in the Cambrian era, 541 million years ago. Also introducing more animals, starting with the tardigrades and arrowworms. Let's go to about 520 million years ago, where we could find some super odd creatures that are luckily extinct. Like Anomalocaris, an apex predator during the Cambrian period, having two long appendages for grabbing soft prey. And it was huge for the time, at around 1 foot long. We also have the trilobites. These little survivors will be here for a long time. Until they go extinct, obviously. There's still a lot more weirdos where that came from. There's Lyraripax, which looks like an Anomalocaris, but instead of two long appendage thingies, it has two jaw thingies, and its fin sides, the one little scaly things that look like a flappy fish tentacle thingy, those are longer too. Saccharidus, very, 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 pretty much one of the weirdest animals in this video. I mean, it poops out of the same hole that it eats, which, again, extremely weird. Luckily, these guys are extinct, so we don't have to, just look at them and get ugh, in the future. Opabinia, which is a five-eyed freak of nature, because it has 5 eye stalks. Yes, literally 5 eyes. I don't know why 5 eyes. It should have stuck with 2. And a long proboscis-like mouth, used for grabbing fish. Well, not fish, early fish. I don't know, maybe a few trilobites here and there. Or, well, some Precambrian stuff, I don't know. But either way, it just looks like a freak of nature. It just I did tell you before that there were going to be some weird creatures. Sigenia, a worm-like thing with multiple legs and spines sticking out of its back? Oh yeah, and it also has 2 squiggly arms. Because why not? We're adding weird into, the max. It's weird times 100 in the Cambrian period. So, I hope you were prepared. I said were. And Tazoia, a crab-like arthropod with one of the weirdest shells I've ever seen. I mean, it, it looks like it wouldn't even fit on a regular crab's fish, or whatever that thing looks like, without its shell. And there's many more weird creatures from the Cambrian. Meet Plectronoceras, the first cephalopod to ever live. Cephalopods are a group known for octopuses, cuttlefish, and squid. Those are much later through Earth's history. This is also where acorn worms began. This is also when the first coral began. Now, prepare for an extinction of the Cambrian. This time period would specifically be around 510 million years ago. But either way, it is bad. Like, erase everything. Well, not everything bad. It'll just erase most of the species that I've talked about that are incredibly weird. You know. And kablammy. After the entire extinction, this is what we're left with. Well, not really. There's still, much more species in the Cambrian, and some still survive to evolve into more stuff. But still, it was an extinction. And we will move on to the Ordovician. But this video is getting too long, so I'm gonna have to end it here. I hope to see you soon. Bye!